Outer Orange.
Today, welcome back everyone. We are going to be discussing some results. I haven't done one of these in a while, so I'm gonna just pick like the latest ones and kind of go over them. This is introducing set 6 Vanguard for Japan. There's gonna be a little bit of that to kind of go over, so we're gonna go over that as well as we talk about the results. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, fam, check it out. We are gonna start with the deluxe Singapore national finals, this top 8, and there's 2 Maelstroms in this, which I thought was really interesting because it's now with the new Maelstrom support, and I'm actually really excited about this. I do really like Maelstroms, so I'm really excited. I'm a big Flagberg enjoyer. This is Flagberg Daddy, so we gotta respect Flagberg Daddy. But anyway, this is the results. We have 2 Rezael, 2 Maelstrom, 1 Levy, sorry, 1 Love, 1 Java, 1 Varga, 1 Michu. No love address in this one, which is very interesting going into set 6 in mind. And then this is what the top 4 looked like. Maelstrom didn't make it in, but Rezael made it through along with some Loveberry, and last but not least we had Java, which I believe was also just a really the same person that's been basically kind of pushing this deck a lot recently. So there's that. We also have Thailand nationals, which is a little bit different. There was love address that made it through this one, but there's also 2 Rezael, 2 Varga, and the Jet, and 1 Odium and Bruce. We didn't really see much of Odium in the last one, so there's also Odium in this one. Seeing Jet come back as well, and then also Bruce, which is kind of a little bit more unusual to see. And then this is what top 4 looked like. With first it was Rezael, second was Varga, third was love address, and fourth was Jet. And I will say Varga's actually pretty powerful. I think I've heard a lot of people kind of push the deck down, but I actually think it's definitely got some legs. That deck is actually very hard to fight into. It draws a lot. It drew a lot before, but I think it draws even more. It just survives for so long, and that board clear can actually really hurt. So this is a very interesting pick. I actually don't think it's that bad of a deck. Philadelphia Standard. So this was Philadelphia. So this is top 8 breakdown, and we had 2 Doji, 2 Leonor, 1 Prison, 1 Alden, 1 Messiah, 1 El Padillo. Now this is set 4 meta, so this was a little behind, and Alden won all of this one, and then this was, and basically after that was Messiah, and then 3rd place and 4th place were both Doji, which is very interesting, very different pace from what we kind of were used to seeing at set 4. We're going to set 5, so I guess this was a little behind, but Premium that hasn't changed too much. It's basically been kind of the same in terms of results. So we have the kind of the usual ones. Shadow Power might be more unusual to see. I feel like that one's just not as popular. Then we had Genesis and Link Joker, 1 Angel Feather, Narukami, and then Aquaforce. So let's see what kind of, then this is top 16 breakdown where it gets a little bit smaller. And the top 8 breakdown, which is now, but now Nubatama and Mega Colony are starting to take up more of the slots with Grand Blue and Spikes. And then what wins it all is Nubatama, and then we have, I actually watched this match. This match was pretty hilarious to watch. This was like Onslaught, by the way. It was such a fast match. But yeah, Peter got 2nd, and 3rd place we had Rudy, and 4th place with Alicia. And then let's go into, this is Malaysia Premium. So they had Premium over there with Nubatama and Angel Feather, kind of the more usual stuff. And let's kind of go in a little bit further here. For this one, it was Highlander that took it all actually, and the second place was Joshua Lee with the Gize Angel Feather. In 3rd place we had Lisa with Nubatama, and 4th place with Nubatama again. We also have Malaysia Standard, which is now in set 5 format, so this is also interesting to watch in set 5 format. We got Love Just at full power, we got Rezael full power, we also have the Bat deck that comes into mind in this, and then Odium now is officially legal for set 5 English. So this basically, as you can tell, there's a lot of love address on this one. This is kind of what started the mayhem of like the love address distaste. This is where it started basically, but or the beginning of it, I should say. The next one's even worse. Overall, not too bad of a breakdown. It's all popular decks. Lord being in there is not too unusual. Varga, Leonor, and Doji, you know, all the usual decks. Then we have the 1 Bat deck as well, and then this is what top 16 looks like. Love just still taking up like a good chunk of the chart, but we also had Odium still sticking through, Sharanui, kind of the rest kind of feeling the same. And then this top 8 where still a third of the chart is basically love address, and then we also have the rest of the chunk being popular decks. And then last but not least, it finished off with 1st and 2nd place with love address, 3rd place was Michael with Shodoji, 4th place was Nubatama. All pretty impactful decks. No one really took anything too copy, which was interesting. The Bat deck also didn't make it through, I saw. Seems like it died in top 32. It does happen. The deck sometimes can randomly just not do its thing and lose, but also depends on the deck build. I think it does cater. There's definitely a certain play style behind it where you have to kind of keep track of it all times to kind of really like truly push it correctly. But like I said, you can also brick on a deck and just kind of lose that way. But anyway, overall, Love Address did take it all, and it's a very powerful deck. And also, I think on release, I feel a lot of people just didn't know what this deck fully did. So I think this is like the perfect event to like take this deck to be honest, because if you really knew what the deck was doing and piloting it correctly, it definitely was one of the strongest decks in the room. Just because 1, it's new, and 2, a lot of people aren't prepared for it. So I think that's like a big big in its favor type of thing. But anyway, congrats to everyone there. We got also the Singapore results, which was a very, very heavy love address push, and this is really when we started seeing a lot of people start to discuss this deck even more. So 11 love address, 2 ODM, 2 Rezael, 1 Lunar, all pretty good decks, by the way, aside the love address taking up most of the slot, but all very powerful decks, I would say. And then this is what top 8 looked like. So basically it was all love address, and then there's the 1 Rezael. By the way, this is all recorded, so you actually could check out. That's the same channel that like has been recording like the usual stuff. They recorded the Bushiroad event for this one. So if you ever see gameplay of like, you know, like actual like if you ever see me like talk about gameplay or whatever, or talk over gameplay, it's usually been from these guys that they did the Bushiroad one too. So it's actually a very sad looking top 8. It's just all love address players and the 1 Rezael player. But this is what first, second, third, and fourth. So it was all love address, every single one. Again, this is the second event that this was legal for, and I believe this was 2 weeks in at this point. So again, I do have to say that I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that people just kind of were like, all right, well, I'm just going to take this deck because I already know how to play it. Because keep in mind, they also have the Japanese circuit going on in that same venue space, if I remember correctly. So, you know, all the people that have been playing JP meta, all they did was just go to English meta and then pick and choose, you know, and there's no collabs. And so just a little bit of a different format too. There's no stride decks, you know, there's less options to pick. So I guess people that were already playing love address just went like, I'm just going to go play love address over there, like on the English side, you know. So there's something that like that keep by. But anyway, congrats to everyone regardless. I'm pretty sure I've seen Eugene before pop up like on these top charts for the other circuit that they run in that same venue space. So there's also that. So yeah. And then after that, we also have the premium breakdown, which is really heavily into Batama focus. We have some Neo Nectar, Genesis, Mega Colony, Dimension Police, Angel Feather, Nova Grappler, and Great Nature. Great Nature is a little bit more of an unusual one to see. And then this is what top 8 looks like. Looks like Great Nature died somewhere between all of that and Nova Grappler. And then we finished off with first place, which I believe this guy was also in the standard side, but it's New Batama. Second place with Derek Dow and Angel Feather. Third place we had the Victor player, which was Benjamin Chang. And then fourth place we had Yang for finishing off with Genesis. So that was basically that. Genesis, I don't know how to pilot this deck, but apparently it has like kind of like and it kind of goes into like a loop with the Melissa package where you eventually deck out your opponent, which is really interesting. I guess I've never piloted it. It's a little too much for me, a little too much calculus for my eyes. I am familiar with Victor, so it's interesting to see this deck top. And then Angel Feathers, Gize has been really popping up, and then Nubatama has just been overall a good pick. Not the worst pick, but just not a bad pick either. So seeing someone taking it makes sense, especially nowadays. All right, and here's Lunar Open, which was a fan community run circuit that my friends that I know basically kind of did this recently with Card Dweeb, and which is Charlie and a couple other people like really pushed for this, and it's really cool. I actually watched some of this. I didn't watch everything, but I did watch some of it. It was really cool to see. It was actually pretty well done overall. I thought it was a very good little circuit. It was kind of like BRO, but just community run for the most part. So it's really cool. So this is the top 8 results for standard. I don't remember how many players they had, but I think it was a good bout. But we had 2 Love Address, 2 Rezael, 2 Ellie, the bad deck, 1 Blagmire, and 1 Varga. I mean, I'm gonna mention something about Blagmire. Blagmire is a really tough matchup for Love Address. I actually didn't know how bad it was until I actually faced it recently, and I was like, wow, that matchup was kind of rough. So you kind of have to hope you dodge that matchup. It's actually not in your favor at all. It's kind of like when you're playing Doji trying to get around it. You just have to hope that the Blagmire player just doesn't see their pieces or like soul charges in the incorrect way, because otherwise it's a really rough matchup. I'm not even gonna lie, this one isn't fun. They turn off your tokens too if they divide, so it can be rough. It can be rough. This is what finishing results looked like, which was first place with Varga, second place was Blagmire, third place was Love Address, and fourth place was Rezael. All different decks, and overall all pretty good decks. I will say I'm one of those people, I'm not a true Blagmire believer. Like, I get it, but I also think that deck's a little like, I feel like you have to cheese in some ways to kind of get there, and if you don't, it kind of starts to struggle. And then Varga did take this one. I do think Varga has some strength. Like I said, when I first started kind of looking into this meta a while back, a lot of people told me that Varga was kind of ass, and I was like, I don't know, is it really? And then I started facing it, and I was like, this doesn't feel like ass at all. This feels very powerful. You can deny some CB here and there, kind of choke them out, but otherwise, like, I feel like this deck just kind of pops off. Like, those 3 attacks go hard. You know, once they get there, they get there. And that board clear is pretty painful. They keep doing it over and over again. So it's kind of scary. And then obviously Love Address, we all know about that. And then Rezael taking 4th. I think Rezael's pretty impactful too. I feel like results-wise, it hasn't been as impactful on the English side so far, but I think that's going to change a little bit. I do think this deck's pretty strong. It's definitely one of those decks where you can just generically play it be perfectly fine. You don't have to worry about misplaying. It's kind of hard to misplay under this deck. So I do think it's a really good, powerful contender for as well, alongside with Love Address and Vanguard, to be honest. And this is what Premium looked like. And Premium had a bunch of Mega Colony, some Dimension Police, some Nubatama, some Neo Nectar, Grand Blue, and Nova Grappler, another Nova Grappler. And then we finish it off with Premium being Mega Colony once again taking first place. And second place was Neo Nectar, which I did watch a little bit of one of the matches that Michael Seekers was piloting when he was piloting the deck. I was very surprised to see him on Katrina. I never saw him as a Katrina player, but apparently he is. And third place we had a VJ with another Mega Colony, but it's Flagbird Colony, which I'm a big fan. I love Flagbird Colony. And then last place we had, in fourth place we have a Troopy, also with bugs again. a lot of bug players. I feel like everyone is on bugs now, and I'm kind of wondering if people are considering countering the deck. I want to check out a look at this Flagbird list, just because you guys know how I am about with these Flagbird decks. Like I have to talk about it. I can't ignore the burger, you know. All right, so this is Flagbird. Looks pretty standard overall. Like nothing really stands out. They got the Restander. We got the one of the Stride Father. Obviously Flagbird himself, but all three copies, pretty spooky. We got the inlet for the Restander. We got this guy that basically has a Garter Strike. This card's really annoying. And then we have the Dark Face to kind of just go to Dark Face. A lot of great things. That's the only thing I like about this deck, and what I was kind of like not enjoying about this deck was the fact that it has a lot of great threes. But you search your deck a lot, you kind of deck, then you do things, so it's not the end of the world. Basically just have the normal Bucks package. Brilliant Blister, old OG Brilliant Blister should also be in here. Maybe he's not. I don't see OG Brilliant Blister actually. I mean, the counter chargers, soul charge heals, that's also interesting. And then Red OT ladder, got the Stride crits, and G-Zone looks pretty normal. I don't see anything too unusual. It looks like a pretty standard G-Zone. Like you just look at this and you go, There's a couple. Obviously there's a Dark Face one, and you also want this, and then this is one of your best G guards. This one and the other one are both pretty good. I think this is the best one actually. I also did want to go over to Standard real quick, and I did want to take a look at some of these lists. So let's look at the Varga list real quick. All right, so Redline Standard, and then this is the Searcher guy. This is pretty standard. This guy is this the boosty guy that also gets power and has like a restriction on him where you can't like retire it basically. They are choosing to run the old the old Braku Force. That's also interesting. We got Shenri in here. Everything else is pretty standard because we are running the guy that brings himself back, and this guy in the main deck just for more extra power and draw and retire. More draw, because for some reason this deck just draws a ton. I don't know where it's all coming from, but this deck draws so much now. Purple OT is interesting. I like that. I'm a Purple OT enjoyer. We also got Defensing Roar. This card's just insane. This card's just so nuts, but basically otherwise looks pretty standard. This might be a little bit more unusual. Oh no, this is the booster. This is the booster that also retires and draws a card. Some people really vouch for that card, so that makes sense. Here we have the list. So Rideline Standard, got the Dragon in here, got this is the grade 2 donation card. We got the order package, which you do want to see. It's pretty powerful. We do have a little bit of cyclers. We got the guy that restands with the crits, and then there's the actual order. So a little bit of a less order package to fit the cyclers in, and then we're actually running double cycler. That's interesting. I haven't seen double cycler. Maybe I just haven't been looking that well, but I haven't seen double cycler as often. So that's really cool. And then obviously we're running the grade 1. And that's basically it, I think, for this one. And I do want to see the Love Address to see what people are cooking on Levy's side. All right, here's Love Address, and this does look pretty standard. It looks like they opted to go for like a regular build, just a ton of rarities, but it doesn't look like it has any text or any weird stuff. It's a pretty standard build. There's no. Some people have been running order packages and all this other stuff. I actually value some of the little text just to kind of deal with mirrors and stuff like that. I actually really respect those. It's always the regular piece that I find interesting. Some people run different regular pieces as well, but otherwise this list is pretty standard. The standard is basically the 4 of all the staples, and then whatever you have left is like orders, and then the Squirrel edition. I do value the Squirrel. I think the Squirrel is like pretty nuts and should probably be a 2 or 3. I see some lists that cut it to 1. I'm like, I don't know about 1. I know you can find it, but it's just a little too important to see early on. I personally put this card way higher. I think this is like a 3 of easily, but otherwise, it's like I said, this is a standard list. I feel like they were just trying to just keep it simple, and simple sometimes is good. Like what the deck already does is fine. It's kind of like the Doji, when Doji had different like deck lists, but some had a little bit of difference. But the standard list, which is kind of what this is going for, even with all the rarities, the standard list works fine too. I will say the fronts and draws is a very hard call with this deck, because the fronts carry you so hard, like to like really push, but the draws really help you find pieces if you start bricking. Your hand gets a little small if you're going second. It's kind of hard to pick and choose. I've been really struggling between choosing for this one, but I understand both sides, if that makes sense. But overall, standard list, and then let's take a look at Rezael now. I'm actually a Rezael player now, so I actually know a lot about this deck, so let's go check out what this deck's doing. All right, so here's Rezael. Overall, let me see. So far, so this is about the same. I feel like a lot of us just do this run 4 of the king. I think he's a king. Is he a king? He is a king. So 4 of the king, 2 of the Gabuelius, and then 3 of the regular Rezael in your main deck. And then this is kind of where it gets tricky, which is the grade 2s. I feel like I've seen so many lists do so many different things. Some lists just keep it simple, where they just kind of keep it standard, where they run like the Biscotti, this grade 2, and then the Codwalla, or you'll see this cut to lower, no Biscotti, and then this at higher packages. And then there's like this, you need to see the countercharger, and then obviously this, and then some people don't run the Minerva package with the order, and then they run this instead, but some don't run Biscotti, some do. Like, I feel like that's the main thing. People just toss and turn all different packages. This is the package this is the orderless package, so this is the no Minerva package. The downside to the no Minerva package is that your grade 2s are just not as beefy. Cardwalla is a great card, but she has absolutely no pressure in terms of like the numbers, so she's like kind of a baby, whereas the grade 2, when once it starts swinging into grade 3s, it gets like, it becomes a 20k on its own, and Persona gives a 30k, and if you revive it, it gets even bigger and all that kind of fun stuff, right? So that's like the difference. And that list usually gets with a little bit of Biscottis. There's also maples, there's no maples, so there's kind of a couple different ways you can build this deck. This one's also running 1 of the owl, which is also interesting, or the cat, I should say. So that's also interesting. And then they are running the hostage package, which I do understand. Running the hostage package, it can come up. I played the hostage package for a bit. I took it out just because I preferred maple, but I can also understand running the hostage package if you want to revive a PG and just kind of want to sit there. It's a certain matchups, it comes up a lot, like Fennel. Any matchup that's like burst behind it, the hostage package really comes up, because usually burst decks don't have like an out to clear a PG on the board, and then you can just hostage it and then you're fine. So there's just a little backup plan, just a little protection if you need it. But overall, yeah, like I said, this list runs the non-Minerva package. I think either one works. I think if you're worried about being denied, this list is better. But if you feel you're not going to get denied, I think the Minerva package is a little bit better. It's a little bit cleaner, or it feels cleaner. But yeah, you can kind of mix and match and do a bunch of different things. You can kind of put both engines in. It might be a little bit more bricky, but you can do that. The dog really helps a lot with the digging and searching. And then obviously the ride line also kind of gets you there. And most of this deck like replaces the cards that you play will replace themselves. So it's just really powerful. But anyway, overall, I think this deck's insane, especially going first. I do think it struggles a little going second. And I do think the love address matchup's like very 50-50. It just depends on if the love address player bricks or not. If they just even have one slow turn, I feel this deck just escalates on that really well because of all the healing it can do, and then the late game just gets insane once, because love address goes into late game. This deck has the better late game if you can hold on to your divine skill an additional turn. Basically, if you don't divine on the first 2 turns, you kind of hold off on it, you'll usually win off of that just because the pressure of the crits get too high. That's all I have for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoy that. 50cards.shop, code orange if you need anything. Hope you guys enjoy the breakdown, all that kind of fun stuff. I really haven't done one of these in a while, so it was really nice to just sit here and kind of just discuss the meta for a second, especially since we have set 6 in Japan now. But that, guys, thank you so much for watching. Peace out. That's Vidano. See you guys in a future video. Bye.